My name is Stacey Blakeman, and I am the Director of Career Services at the University of Kansas School of Law. Today, we will be discussing Dressing for Success, how to tailor your professional identity. Our objectives for this presentation are to lay out the main takeaways of professional dress, to set forth the general professional style norms in the legal profession, to discuss interview attire as well as non-interview attire, and to cover some important tips to keep in mind. This presentation requires a disclaimer before we go any further. We want you to know that the traditional standards of legal professional dress are determined by white patriarchal norms. We see it as part of our job to apprise you of these standards so you can make informed decisions on how to be your authentic professional self. The legal profession has historically been very conservative in terms of how attorneys are expected to dress. Men were expected to wear dark suits with ties, and women were expected to wear skirts, hose, and heels. These traditional standards of dress reflect patriarchal influences and are problematic in how non-inclusive they are. We do not condone these expectations or the limits they impose. To understand how traditional standards of dress apply to you, you need to know your audience. Unfortunately, some attorneys and judges still uphold these strict standards of attorney dress, but not all do. Therefore, it is important to consider your audience. Are you interviewing at a very traditional and conservative office? Or are you interviewing at one that prides itself on being flexible with the dress code? Are you appearing before a court where the judge is known to call people out for their courtroom attire? Or are you in a more casual jurisdiction? These distinctions are important because once you know your audience, you can make a decision about how you want your professional identity to come across. We want you to know and accept the message your style choices may send to your audience. Your attire does not indicate your competency or ability. At the same time, it is a factor in someone's first impression of you. Therefore, you should think about the message you want to convey with your first impression and consider whether your attire expresses it. Once you have done the assessment of your audience and your message, you can make an informed, intentional decision about how you want to present yourself through your attire. Patriots quarterback Cam Newton is the perfect example of knowing your audience. If you don't know who he is, do a quick internet search of Cam Newton fashion and prepare to be inspired. Cam Newton wears extremely fashion-forward, often challenging looks during interviews with the media and on his way to and from games. However, several years ago, he released a clothing line with suiting options that are more aligned with what we may expect to see at a legal event. He realizes that while flashy fabrics and unusual cuts are fantastic in certain venues, they are not the best choice for every situation. Why does professional attire matter, and why do we bother discussing the norms? First, following professional style norms allows other people to focus on your potential and abilities instead of your outward appearance. It lets your performance be the thing that stands out. Finally, professional attire can be confidence building. When you dress the part, it can help combat imposter syndrome and help you feel like you belong. However, we can't overemphasize that your professional attire does not tell the whole story. Your style does not dictate how competent and capable you are. Your clothing and accessories do not need to be expensive to be professional. You may feel like traditional standards of professional dress are not confidence building for you. In fact, you may feel like they are untrue to who you are. Tailoring your professional identity can be complex, particularly at the beginning of your legal career. We want to give you some concrete examples of traditional standards of legal professional dress so you are informed. Interview attire is more formal and conservative. Wear a suit. Pants, skirt, or dress suits are okay, but be sure to match the jacket to the bottom piece. Keep your colors neutral. Avoid bright colors on shirts and shoes, and avoid bold patterns on ties. Clothing should be a proper fit, which means not too tight or too loose, and not too low cut. Skinny fit suits and oversized suits are fashionable and can look great, but they may be too trendy for some employers. Shoes should be a neutral color with a modest heel. The color can match your suit. Don't wear a shoe with high heels unless you want to and feel comfortable walking in them. Keep your finishings polished. This means wearing appropriate undergarments so your suit lays comfortably, having your facial hair groomed. This includes your neck beard. Choosing understated makeup and accessories. The hair on your head can be worn any way as long as you don't play with it during the interview. Here are some examples of appropriate interview attire. As you can see, their clothing looks nice but isn't too exciting, and their accessories coordinate without standing out. Overall, these people look polished and ready to interview. Here are some examples of interview-appropriate shoes. Heel height shouldn't be higher than 3 inches. Your shoe color should match your suit or be a neutral. Here are some examples of non-interview attire. These people look incredible. Unfortunately, the legal profession has not historically accepted these looks as interview appropriate. Here are some examples of non-interview shoes. You may be able to wear them in other work settings depending on your employer, but they are too fun for interviews. See these smiley people? They're all ready to interview. Are their outfits a little boring and unmemorable? Yes, but they are ready to dazzle the employer with their skills and land the job. Let's talk about business casual. This dress code can be ambiguous because each office has its own rules. Typically, business casual means wearing something other than a suit. Nevertheless, it is still important to keep your look polished. Your shirt should be tucked in, you should wear a belt, and your clothing should be wrinkle-free. Instead of a suit, wear a blazer or a sweater as a topper. Remember that business casual is not the same as casual. You should not wear t-shirts, sweatshirts, yoga pants, or sneakers. Play it safe and don't be the most dressed down person in the office. Here are some examples of business casual looks. Jeans can be considered business casual in certain offices. Here are some examples of professional jeans. The darker the wash, the more appropriate for the office. Avoid distressing, holes, and make sure they are clean. Here are examples of non-professional jeans. Too tight, stained, holes, kind of look like jeans but are actually leggings. Save these for the weekend. Sometimes a legal event comes with a dress code of cocktail attire. There is a range of appropriate choices here. Just remember it is a work event, so consider it as such and err on the side of conservative. Here are some examples of appropriate cocktail attire. Virtual platforms such as Zoom and WebEx have become commonplace in facilitating remote interpersonal interactions, and this will likely be the case for the foreseeable future. It is important to keep in mind some tips for appearing professional on screen during virtual interviews and virtual networking events. First, you still need to put forth effort, but keep it simple. Your clothing and your background should not be attention-grabbing. In particular, busy patterns can be visually disruptive on online platforms. If you need a quiet space for a remote interview, or one that has a background that is CSO approved, Green Hall has one available that you can reserve. To do so, contact the Career Services Office or Chris Koenig. For interviews, you still need to wear a suit, including a jacket and tie. For other appearances that may not have a dress code, err on the side of overdressed. It is about coming across as polished and professional. Here are some examples of people in professional attire on virtual platforms. Their backgrounds are basic, and their outfits are the same as they would wear if the event was in person. This is a lot to synthesize. When in doubt, follow these guidelines. The more traditionally conservative the forum, for example, federal court or a large law firm, the more traditionally conservative attire is expected. First impressions matter, and we want you to be able to control the narrative. Once you have the job, you will likely have more flexibility with how you dress. If you have any questions about what to wear, just ask us. You can email us pictures of what you are thinking about wearing. We can do a practice Zoom meeting to assess your background. You could send us links to clothes or just ask us for advice. Ultimately, you are in charge of your professional identity, and we support how you express it. We want you to be your authentic professional self. We hope this tutorial helps you as you begin tailoring your professional identity. Professional dress, in particular, can be a tricky subject with a lot of nuance. So as always, please reach out to the CSO for more guidance or clarification. Rock chalk!